When we decided to go camping 6 years ago, or full-time camping, we decided we was going to do some solar projects, which are volunteer projects, so we could give back to the various communities around the states. And then we also decided we was going to have to do some work camping projects so that we could earn a little extra income to help pay for our lifestyle.
Yeah, as we've been full-time RVing, we've had the opportunity to explore some pretty cool parts of the country, and we wanted to share some of those with them. So recently we've spent a few months work camping at an RV park in Vermont, and we toured lots of parts of New England. So if you've ever spent any time in New England, we would love to hear what your favorite parts are. Maybe see what we missed.
The Vermont work camping site was right on an island on Lake Champlain, and then you could see the lake from two different directions from our campsite. It was quite a beautiful campground.
Yeah, the lake, looking over the lake was really pretty. The local talks about Lake Champlain and about it having its own Loch Ness monster type creature in the lake there, and they call it Champ. And we never saw Champ, but we did go to a Lake Monsters ball game in Vermont. So apparently they take that pretty seriously, and their mascot there was Champ. So we saw Champ that way.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some.
We have a niece in Chester, Vermont, who her and her husband own the Southern Pie Cafe. And I may be a little bit prejudiced, but they have some of the best pies and sandwiches you're ever going to find. So if you're ever up in that general direction, it's worth the side trip to get over there and find them.
Yeah, we enjoyed. We went with some friends of ours, Gina and Jerry, and we enjoyed eating lunch there and visiting with their niece and her husband. And we didn't get to see their son while we were there, but it was really nice. We ate outside on the boulevard picnic tables there. So keep that in mind. Southern Pie Cafe in Chester, Vermont. Before we got to Vermont, people were telling us about all the things in New England that we needed to check out, go visit. It was things like the landscape is beautiful, you need to see the mountains, and make sure you see all the moose that are there. Try one of the creamies, go to Ben & Jerry's, visit a maple syrup farm. So we tried to do as much as we could. We found a place where they had creamies. And creamies apparently are a big deal in the New England area. They're very similar to what we call soft-serve ice cream, but they're slightly heavier. And next, our friends Gina and Jerry had heard about this whole area in New Hampshire. Supposedly, it's home to hundreds of moose.
Yep, so off we went looking for moose. We drove for hours and didn't see any moose, but we stopped and had a very nice lunch, and then we drove for hours and hours again, and then we stopped and had a very nice dinner, and we came home. No moose.
But we had a good time. The scenery was beautiful, and we were in the car just chit-chatting, so it was really nice.
Yeah, it was. Another thing me and Rob did, we went to a maple syrup farm and found all out about how they make maple syrup nowadays. If you're thinking they still hang a bucket on the side of a tree and go out and collect it every once in a while, that's far from the truth. It's pretty modernized anymore, and very interesting to go and find out how much actual process is to make a gallon of maple syrup. So.
Yeah, they had, it was a very interesting and a very entertaining tour. It was like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. they tapped thousands and thousands of trees at this one farm that we went to, and I'll put a link to their farm in the comments too. But we got to sample some, and we ended up coming home with some, and we got a couple of different flavors of the maple syrup, and we also got some ketchup that was sweetened with maple syrup. So that was pretty cool.
I never found any proof to this, but I do think it's a state law in Vermont. If you have any kind of store, you have to sell maple syrup in it. Because if any kind of roadside stand, any store, any gas station, about the only place I didn't see it was in the doctor's offices. But any other than that, if it was a public place, they're selling maple syrup.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. We have another niece that lives in New England. She and her family live in Rhode Island. Now, we went to visit them. We had a great visit with them. We didn't take any pictures at their house, but they are real close. Rhode Island and Connecticut are real close together. I mean, they touch each other, and you drive from one to the other without even knowing it. So we spent a little more time in Connecticut, and we went to a town called Mystic, Connecticut. Now, we're probably some of the few people ever that have never heard of Mystic, Connecticut, and the movie that made it famous, Mystic Pizza. And it's a very charming little town. It even has a drawbridge right in the center of town there. And anyway, Mystic Pizza is one of Julia Roberts' first movies, and it was filmed almost entirely in Mystic, Connecticut. I think it's either one of her first or her first movie. But we ate at Mystic Pizza too while we were there. And we also visited the original one that's still in operation. And I think we had soda or something there, I don't remember. But it's a really cool little town.
Yeah, it's like Rob said, it has a drawbridge, which anything historical and mechanical I'm interested in, so that's just something to check out. There's also a very nice bakery there called Sift, where there's an award-winning baker there that's got all these fancy little pastries like you see they make on the Great British Bake Off, and so that's well worth a stop there too. So Mystic's a great little town to visit. So if you're ever up that way.
Yeah, it was really cool. We enjoyed it.
Okay.
Now,
Robin and Gina, they decided to take off for a trip to Ben and Jerry's by themselves, so we'll tell you about that.
Yeah, when Gina and I decided we were going to go to visit Ben and Jerry's, it's in Waterbury, Waterbury, Vermont. It's not very far from where we were staying at the RV park. And we toured the Ben and Jerry's, and then we had a nice little lunch in town, and we had a creamy in town again. We wanted to try them again. But one of the coolest parts for me visiting Ben and Jerry's was the ice cream graveyard. Now, they have the factory there that you can tour. They have a lot of displays. They have ice cream for sale and, of course, souvenirs. But with the graveyard, that attracted most of our attention. They have these cool gravestones with very clever little sayings on them about the different ice cream flavors that's been retired now. So we took quite a few pictures of that.
One of the things Robin said, they had creamies again. Every place we'd have creamies at, people would say, well, the creamies there aren't any good. You got to get them here. So we kept, it was a terrible thing. We had to keep going around different places getting ice cream.
Yeah, but we managed.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things in New England that everybody was talking about, and it's a term I had never heard before either, but it was called leaf peeping. And people come from all over the place. I mean, states far away to go leaf peeping in New England, where you can see the fall colors, you know, when they change and how vibrant they are. And we saw in the news later, while we were there, how bad traffic was backed up in different places with people driving through areas that were supposed to be great for leaf peeping. But we found a really cool place, and there was 6 of us from the RV park that made the trip over to Mad River Glen. Mount Mansfield is there, and they have a ski lift that takes you up to the top of the mountain, and you can walk around and look around and take a lot of pictures and ride the ski lift back down. It was beautiful.
Yeah, one of the things too, we got to check off our list on the way over there. We saw a couple of young moose walking across the road. They were maybe a year old or so. They was just tall and gangly looking thing. At first I thought they was deer, but then after I thought, well, that's way too tall for deer. So we kind of come to the conclusion they was a year-old moose wandering across the road in front of us. So we got to check that off our list.
Yeah, they looked, I mean, their legs, we figured, you know, we got thinking about it, their legs didn't look like deer legs, and their ears were different. But anyway, it was kind of cool. And then at the top of the mountain, we could see Lake Champlain, which we could see quite a bit of it. We were like 30, 40 miles away.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. So, and with our trip to New England, we got to add some more little stickers on our RV map that we have on the side of the RV. We have some big vinyl map with all the states, and you fill in the ones that you visited already.
So let us know some of the things you did up in New England. Tell us what we missed, so if we ever get back up that way, we'll be sure and try to hit them. But then check out our next video, or next one, where while we was up there, we also went over to Bar Harbor, Maine, and went to Acadia National Park. So that's a very interesting area. And then we also did a side trip to Montreal one Sunday afternoon, since Montreal was only like maybe an hour up the road from us. So anyway, that was very interesting and things that we did. So we'll see you in the next video. We're at Mad River Glen Ski Resort and heading up the ski lift. We're going to look at some mountains and look at some pretty trees. You can see over here in the distance that colors they're not peak here yet, but they're pretty nice. A long way up there. That's my pretty wife up there ahead of us, in case you can't tell.